Here's a slightly gussied up version of classic southern U.S. chicken and dumplings. I made this for company the other day, quite a thing for a brisk fall evening. I'm especially happy with how the dumplings themselves turned out. Lots of flavor in there, nice light texture. Traditionally, you'd start by just boiling a whole chicken in water to make chicken soup, but I'm going with the far more convenient and consistent boneless, skinless thighs. About 1.5 pounds, 700 grams. That might not sound like a ton of meat for like 6 portions, but remember, there's no bone, no skin, that's all net weight. And I'm just snipping each thigh into maybe 4 pieces. I'm going to cook this until the meat is falling apart, so the chunks we eat will actually be even smaller, but if you don't cut them up front, you're going to get super long strings of meat that I think are undesirable. I'm shortening the meat fibers here, and I'm using scissors instead of a knife so that I don't have to wash the cutting board. Now, I'm going to start this more like a stew than a soup. Enough pepper for every piece, some mixed dried herbs, enough salt for every piece, and then enough flour to coat, like half a cup, 50 or 60 grams, and toss. This is how I do breadings whenever possible. Season the food instead of the flour or the breadcrumbs or whatever. It's much easier to eyeball the seasoning quantity on the meat than on a pile of flour. Heat a good film of oil. If you have bacon grease or some such, this would be a great time to use that instead. You really got to lay the pieces in one at a time. If you just dump them in all at once, they're going to congeal into a giant slimy meatball. Because I've completely filled my pot with meat and because I'm on a weak gas stove, I am on high heat, but you be conservative if you don't know your stove. You don't want anything to burn, nor do you want to try to flip those pieces until they have browned well on the bottom. If they aren't brown, they're going to stick really bad. A wooden spoon is definitely the best way to nudge the pieces off the pan. You can really dig down underneath them without scratching the pan. Once I've got those flipped, I will run over here and cut 8 ounces, 227 grams of mushrooms in half. The biggest ones I'll quarter, but they're going to shrink a ton. Oops, I got a little burning happening over here. That could absolutely dissolve in the soup and spoil the flavor. The solution is to grab a wet paper towel with tongs and scrub the burned spot clean. Better yet, don't burn anything at all. These pieces are brown enough. I'll push them over to one side and throw in my mushrooms to get a little color on them. I might even push the pot a little bit off the heat so that the chicken doesn't burn. The heat is only under the mushroom side now. I keep coming back to green onions as my favorite form of onion these days. 2 bunches, lose the roots. They're easy to cut, they give you some onion, and they give you some nice bright green garnish. I will reserve said garnish for later and throw the whites in with the mushrooms. Just give them a couple of minute head start. And if you're thinking, now's about the time Adam would totally deglaze with an entire bottle of white wine, well, you'd be right. Water or stock would be fine instead. I've got a pound of carrots here. Thick sliced carrots take about the same time to stew soft as chunks of dark meat chicken do, so I'll get those in right away. Then a whole carton of chicken stock. Remember, it's supposed to be more of a soup than a stew, so lots of liquid. A pinch or 2 of salt to start with. We can always add more at the end. Maybe I'll grab what's left of this garlic head, cut off the root ends, bash to loosen the skin, and I'll just throw those smashed cloves in there whole. They'll just melt over the long cooking. Stir, bring to a boil, reduce to a spirited simmer, and then you're going to cover and do something else for 45 minutes. It's not a super long cook, but it's still not as fast of a meal as HelloFresh is. With the holidays around the corner, man, is HelloFresh going to help with weeknight cooking around here. Skip the lines at the grocery stores, save on the cost of takeout. HelloFresh is about 25% less expensive than takeout on average. Several nice chilly weather options there, but this pasta is a favorite of ours, and you'll see that it takes less than half an hour because I'm doing this in one shot and my camera can only record 30 minutes at a time. Got all my pre-portioned ingredients here, which minimize waste. We're on the vegetarian meal plan now, even though we're not vegetarians. We just want to eat more vegetables, and HelloFresh helps us hit that goal. But there's kid-friendly meal plans, choice protein plans, all kinds of options, and you can change or skip delivery days from the app. If you need help with holiday meals, you can order breakfasts for company or charcuterie boards, desserts, order those extras on top of your normal meal deliveries. Try it yourself. Go to HelloFresh.com and use code AdamRagusia70 for 70% off, plus free shipping. 70% off with my link and code in the description. Thank you, HelloFresh. After 30 to 45 minutes of simmering, the chicken and the carrots are almost tender, so I will now add in this 12-ounce, 340-gram bag of green beans. Just cut those into spoonable-sized pieces, At a simmer, these will take half an hour max to soften. We want to drop our dumplings when everything is 15 minutes from being done. I've got a lot of fresh rosemary and sage here, very cozy flavors. I'll chop that up nice and fine because I'm putting it in my dumplings. Usually the dumplings are kind of bland and they're flavored by the broth. I think it's kind of fun to reverse that. And what's crazy good inside the dumplings is lemon zest. Just try it. The juice we'll put in the broth later on. That's what happens when you watch the camera monitor instead of watching reality. Close one, Ragusia. If you have cake flour in the house, use that instead of all-purpose, but all-purpose will be okay. About 2 cups, 230 grams. Cake flour is lighter than AP, less protein, softer dumpling texture. I'd say 2 teaspoons of baking powder because we're making southern-style chicken and dumplings, where the dumplings are more like biscuits than noodles. I think half a teaspoon of salt is enough, but you could do a little more. Garlic powder on the inside of the dumplings. That really tastes good, just trust me. In with the herbs and the lemon zest. Then I'll grab 2 or 3 tablespoons of butter, melt it, pour it in, and then mix. If you mix in the fat before you mix in the water, you coat lots of the flour in fat, you're going to block some gluten development and get super tender dumplings. Also for tender dumplings, you don't want to mix up this batter until right before you're ready to drop it into the soup. Now just mix in just enough milk or water to make this come together into a shaggy, sloppy dough, like a cup of liquid max. It is absolutely key to not overhydrate or overmix this. It should be a mess. You should just barely be able to roll this into little balls. The fault lines created by uneven mixing will get you a nice crumbly texture. Don't go any bigger than these balls, by the way, because they're going to double in size when they cook. Just drop them into the broth. Make sure the heat is high enough that you've got a low boil. You need that heat to activate the baking powder in there and get these to puff up. Put the lid on so the tops of the dumplings steam, and don't peek in there for at least 10 minutes. While I wait, here's my fancy finishing touch. Not traditional, at least not outside of Louisiana. I'm going to thicken and enrich my soup with a liaison. 5 or 6 eggs. I'll fish out the yolks and eat the whites for breakfast tomorrow. In classic French cooking, I believe the typical ratio is 1 part egg yolks to 3 parts cream. Mix that up smooth, and we will add that little custard at the last second. The dumplings are done when they look done. You can always tear one open. It should look like bread on the inside, not dough. If you overcook them, they get very dense, so 10 or 15 minutes max. I will now reduce my heat until I see no more bubbles. It is now safe for me to stir in my liaison. People say that you have to do this whole tempering maneuver, but if you stir it in briskly off the boil, it's going to be fine. You might have to turn the heat back up ever so slightly to cook this. You should see the liquid noticeably thicken just a little when the eggs cook. Of course, if you overcook them, the eggs are going to curdle, the soup will look gritty. That there is a perfect velvety broth. You could just use cream. Straight cream is safer, but you'd need a lot more cream to achieve the same textural effect, and you wouldn't get the extra flavor and the color of the eggs. Heat off to be safe with the eggs, and now I will taste for seasoning. Needs a little more salt, and I'll squeeze in maybe half of my lemon. If I hadn't used the white wine, I'd probably do the whole lemon. And I've got my reserved onion greens to stir in at the last second, thereby keeping them green and pretty. There you go, slightly elevated cold weather comfort food. I love how the stew-like flour coating we did on the chicken kind of melts into the broth and merges the elements together, and I'm so happy with these dumplings. The strong herb and lemon and garlic flavor in there is just insane. Not exactly a low-cal dinner, but we did go very heavy on vegetables relative to the other elements. Please don't take my version of this dish as being traditional. There's all kinds of traditional ways to make chicken and dumplings, and maybe we'll do one of those another day.